Hey guys, this is the Mind of Lilith. Thank you for joining me on my secondary channel focused on relationship topics. So this is the deal. I received some comments about me being too sympathetic to Martell, me not understanding how abusive he is to Melody, etc. I'm assuming these are new people who are not familiar with my other platform, The Wounded Womb, Mind of Lilith. A few months ago, I started that platform in order to give some insight on why Melody was reacting and responding to Martell the way that she was, because a lot of content creators and members of the audience were not sympathetic to Melody. They called her a bitch, they called her a mean girl, they said they didn't like her, but they liked Martell, and I was actually offended at the fact that many people in the audience and many content creators were saying that they liked Martell more than Melody. And so I started that platform, The Wounded Womb, Mind of Lilith, to give some perspective on why Melody was reacting and responding to Martell's narcissistic abuse. I was one of the first content creators to talk about Martell's narcissistic personality disorder and how in the public he appears to be one way, but in private he is dragging his wife through hell. And the reason why I did this is because, it was interesting to me that all these people had negative things to say about Melody in her personal life, right, on the show, the content creators, some of them, and the audience. But at the same time, everybody wants to be Melody's friend on the show. She's done so much for the cast on the show, but nobody's done anything for her. Martell's complaining about Melody, but at the same time can't let her go. So all this negative shit they're talking about Melody, and people can't let her go. Right? They want her in their lives. So there must be some deception or lying or something or projection. And I started my channel to kind of advocate for her side in a sense. She didn't ask me to do that. I don't know her. I don't know her from a can of paint. But because I'm familiar with narcissists on a personal level, right? And I'm familiar with the tactics they use to abuse their victims, I saw Martell from a mile away. So I don't need anyone to come to my channel, no offense to anybody here, to try to school me on what Martell has done to Melody, because I was already peeping game 2 years ago. Before the last reunion, right? Before a lot of the other things that were happening, that people saw how Martell was behaving. Now we see the mistress, and I was aware of all this information. Not to say I was the only one. There were a lot of other people who were also in this space pointing out what Martell was doing. So, but I created my platform to speak for Melody and women like Melody who have been the victims of narcissistic abuse. But in order for me to do that, right? In order for me to have a sympathetic ear or be empathetic towards Melody's plight, I had to see things from a comprehensive perspective. I did not just want to focus on Martell's negative attributes. I wanted to focus on Melody's negative attributes as well, and vice versa. So in order for me to see what was happening to Melody, right, beyond what the public was seeing and what they were saying, I had to understand what Martell was doing to her. So in order for me to do that, I had to kind of get into his brain a little bit and figure out why he was doing what he was doing. So when I say the things that I say on my channel about Martell, it's not because I'm ignorant of who he is and what's going on. I'm very well aware of who he is, to the point where I can actually see some redeeming qualities in him that he has the potential to cultivate. But the problem is when you have personality disorders, right? Individuals with personality disorders, they have an inability to act in a way that is in alignment with the outcomes they're looking for. For example, a man with a personality disorder may say, "I love you so much," but then he'll slap you or beat you or abuse you because he doesn't want you to leave. So to force you to stay, he'll abuse you instead of treating you well. That's how personality disorders operate, right? You may say one day, "Oh, I don't want to be with him. He is not my type," right? But then you get pregnant by him, like Arionne. But Arionne kept saying she doesn't want to be with Martell. He's bad to his wife, but at the same time, you're getting pregnant by him and having a baby. Personality disorders are contradictory. You say one thing to yourself and you do something else, right? There's separation anxiety. There's an attachment disorder. There's an avoidant disorder. All this other stuff that is sort of embedded in cluster B personality disorder types, I saw in Martell. right? The fact that he kept telling Melody he was not satisfied with her but did not want her to leave. Like, who does that, right? Except somebody who's mentally ill. So that's the first point I wanted to make. The second point was the fact that some of my audience members share with me the original Straight No Chaser video pertaining to this particular topic, as far as Martell not seeing his children for 56 days, and then him shopping around for an engagement ring for Arionne, as well as him spending time with Arionne's daughter for her birthday party. So this is the deal with that. When I ask the question why, most times when I ask why, I know the answer or have an idea what the answer could be. But because this topic is so sensitive, and there are allegations of domestic violence, I tried not domestic violence as far as verbal abuse, physical abuse, right? Because there are some people saying that Martell could have, physically attacked Melody, or Melody felt unsafe. When Melody said she felt like somebody was trying to take her life, I don't know if that was literally or figuratively. So I don't want to speculate on that until some more information comes out, and then I can kind of fill in the blanks there. As far as Martell, and the reason why he would not be able to see his children, there most likely is a legal reason for it. And when you have a lawsuit or legal cases pending, you're not supposed to speak on the case until it's been settled, right? So that's not an issue. But the problem that I had with Martell was the fact that he was trying to weaponize social media and against Melody, again, without giving context for why she would not allow him to see the kids in the first place. That's a very manipulative tactic. For example, in the earlier seasons of Love and Marriage Huntsville, he kept saying to his wife, Melody, you're not satisfying me, without explaining or giving context to what that actually meant. Because it wasn't just about oral sex, obviously, because she was giving him that and then some. Plus the mistress was giving that to him too. So when you don't have context, you're going to say, oh, Melody, you got to take care of your man. Like Tasha K said, right? With her ignorant ass. You got to take care of your man. You can't, you got to have somebody, a nanny, help out so that you can cater to your man's needs. When you are dealing with somebody with a personality disorder, you can't give them enough. You can literally sleep with them 24/7 and they'll still complain about you not giving them enough. Because it's not about sex for them. It is about them owning your essence, your energy, your soul, your very vitality, your being. He wanted to consume Melody and chew her up like food and spit her out. When Martell told Melody, you're not satisfying me, the audience saw that as, oh, she's too busy to take care of her man. She's too career oriented. All she cares about is making money. I saw that as he wanted her to sacrifice her life for him. Her dreams, her aspirations, her very essence, and her identity. He wanted her to give that up for him, right? In one of the therapy sessions, Melody said that she could not satisfy Martell's need for attention. He needs too much attention, right? As a grown woman with children and businesses, this man needs too much attention because he's so insecure within himself. And we saw that because Martell had Arionne and Melody, and he was still seeing other women outside of that situation, right? And he told the therapist he enjoyed Melody and Arionne fighting over him. So it wasn't about attention. It was about his own insecurities. But when you tell a woman that you're not satisfied with her, the audience will automatically assume that she's not doing enough for him, especially since we're male identified. So when Martell said she didn't let me see the kids for 56 days, he didn't give any context because he wanted us to assume that Melody was being a bad mother and being neglectful of her children and being petty and bitter and punishing the kids for whatever, right? And that's why I asked the question why, because I don't trust Martell. And I think I know Melody well enough as someone who's been gracious, objective, compassionate, empathetic, and, reasonable with Martell, that there must have been a good reason for her doing that. The fact that there is a custody issue still, I don't know what Martell did to cause Melody to change the custody arrangement. I have no idea. But people are speculating that he moved in with Arionne and so on. If Martell did move in with Arionne because he lost his place, then Melody, in my opinion, is in the right to, and this is kind of complicated to say, but in this instance, she's in the right for not feeling comfortable with having her children around the woman who has been antagonizing her and her children for several years. I would not want my children around Arionne either. There's no way in hell that I would want my children around the person who destroyed my marriage, who helped to destroy my marriage. That's a reasonable thing. And that's not being emotional, because Arionne has said things in the past that would indicate that she does not like the children. I don't want my kids to be with someone that they don't like or who doesn't like them for 2 weeks at a time, for half the time. That's not going to happen. That is not going to happen. So I would understand that if Martell, them moving with Arionne, that why she wouldn't want them around her. It is not because she's bitter about him. She's happy that he's gone. But at the same time, I don't want my kids around my enemy. And Martell is not doing anything to protect Melody from Arionne. So I don't want my children around a woman that you are allowing to disrespect their mother. That's insane. So I would understand if Melody said, this got to be switched up. He cannot have my kids around somebody who is trying to hurt their mother, who does not respect their mother. That's not fair to me. I was not the reason why this divorce happened. I'm not the one going around town making babies with random women. My kids should not have to suffer by living with someone who doesn't like them. If I was Melody, I would probably do the same thing. I got to protect my kids first. There are so many stepmothers who abuse their children, and stepfathers too. But there are so many step-parents who abuse the children of their partners, period. And so I get it. Now, I don't know exactly what the reason is, but whatever. Now, as far as Martell shopping for this engagement ring, narcissists like to get credit for performative gestures, right? So Martell wanted to be considered the face of Holt & Holt, or the face of Holt Custom Homes. He wanted to be considered a boss without actually doing the boss work that Melody was doing. So a lot of narcissists, like, they're performative in everything they do. Performative fathers, they're performative business people, they're performative husbands, they're performative boyfriends. They do things for the appearance sake, right? So this is why Martell has not gotten his builder's license. He was performing the CEO managerial role, right? Even though Melody was CEO on paper, he was acting like they were partners, and they were not partners. As I said on my other channel, Martell was giving ownership privileges when he should have just been a manager or an employee. But because he was married to the person who had the builder's license, he was given ownership privileges, right? And the same thing with the marriage. Martell wasn't being a good husband, but because he had a good wife who made him look good to the public, other people did not know that he was a monster behind the scenes. So he was getting credit for being this perfect husband and the father of the year on social media, while at home, right, behind the scenes, he's disrespecting his wife and cheating on her for several years, right? Performative of being a good father. I'm going to show you guys online how much I love my kids, but at the same time, you're disrespecting their mother. Performative. I'm going to give my mistress a $20,000 ring to compete with Melody without actually having to spend the money for a ring. Like, he wants credit for the gesture of the ring, right? To say, see, I love this lady more than I love my ex-wife because she's worth more. But he doesn't want to actually spend the money to prove that that's actually the case. He just wants the ring to be a gesture or representation or a symbol of something that is not true, right? Because if it were true, he would spend the money to get the $20,000 ring if he thought that she was worth that much. So narcissists use optics and antics and performative gestures to make their victims feel less than, to convince the public or other people of something that they're not actually doing, right? So I love this lady so much and she's worth so much more to me. I'm going to give her this big ring. If Martell marries Arionne, which I wouldn't be surprised if he did, it would be to get back at Melody for changing her last name, 1, and for her new man, potentially, that she has, number 2. I'm not going to speculate as to who that is. Some of you guys may have already known or seen things, and I'll just leave it at that, okay? So if Martell is shopping for an engagement ring, it's a gesture of, it's performative. And so the fact that he's saying, oh, I'm going to give her this ring, and people will say, oh, it's a big ring. See how much he loves her? She won. No, you can't win with a narcissist. You will never win with a narcissist. If Martell gets married to Arionne, I'm going to need my audience to understand. Do not feel like Arionne won anything. She actually won a lifetime of torment. And I said this on my other channel. Arionne saved Melody from a lifetime of torment. Imagine if Melody was still married to Martell. He would still be torturing her to this day. Y'all think that all of a sudden narcissists change their stripes when they're with somebody else? Do you know what he's going to do to her? They're going to do to each other. Both of them are going to destroy each other. Martell and Arionne, if they get married, are going to destroy each other. How do I know this? I have experience in this. Not personally, but I've observed these types of relationships. They always go down in flames. When you have two personality disorders together, they will destroy each other, but can't let go of each other because of their detachment disorder. So they're like trauma bonded to each other, right? And they are afraid of losing each other, but at the same time, their fear of losing each other is causing them to be abusive to each other. So I'm going to tell you I don't love you, and I'm going to act like I don't love you, but I do love you though. That kind of shit. So that's what the kind of relationship they have. This off and on situation. It's not going to be what y'all think it is. Do not be impressed with a $20,000 ring that Martell is getting as a gift to get to somebody to prove to his ex-wife that he doesn't want her anymore and that she's not worth as much. And now he's winning on this side. The fact that he's trying to get a ring that big is, to me, proof that he's trying to prove something to Melody or to the community or society, right? Or the public. Because, you know, again, Melody's getting gifts from somebody. Melody maybe talking to someone at this point, and Martell definitely knows about it if we know about it, right? Or some of us have speculated about it. So because of that, let me get this big old ring to compete with Melody Sherry, because she gave me my last name back because I ain't shit. Now I'm going to prove to her how much I don't need her, while at the same time tormenting her and fucking with her. So anyway, don't be impressed by that, please. You know, I'm aware of Martell and his antics. I can see his moves before he makes them. I wouldn't be surprised if he marries Arionne. I don't care if he does. Arionne's not winning a prize. A man who's a narcissistic abuser is not a prize to anybody. And women need to stop thinking that way. You got to change your language when it comes to how you think about these men. Okay? That's why Tisha's still going to be with Marcel, because men are always the prize. She's not going to win over me. Win what? A cheating, abusive man? That's not a prize, right? When you get rid of your garbage, that's a gift to you. That is not a prize to somebody else. Martell is no prize to anybody. Stop thinking that if you hold on to your man, that the other woman won't get him. You don't have him either. He's treating you like shit too. You're suffering also because you want to hold on to something that's toxic and poisonous to you, like Tisha's doing to Marcel, with Marcel. Some of these women, you know, they will stay with a man for decades. That's very nasty to them. That's abusive. Just to say, he's my man. He's your what? He's your tormentor. He's a demonic entity that is keeping you tethered to him to extract your energy from you. But all you care about is competing with another woman, right? And that's the problem that many women have. And I talked about this in my Nicki Minaj video on the other channel. Women competing with other women and not doing what's best for themselves because they value a man's attention over their own integrity and self-respect, right? So again, don't feel any kind of way, because I see it coming, right? If Martell proposes to and marries Arionne, just know that he's going to be giving her 10 times as much shit as he gave Melody, and Arionne's actually going to return the favor. They're going to be destroying each other. It's a mutual destruction. That's what happens when a narcissist gets with a BPD person, okay? So just to recap, I am aware of Martell's flaws. I see them. I've seen them from the beginning. I was never allured by his appearance. I was never amused by him. I never saw him as the good guy. I never liked him as a person. I always preferred Melody over him because I saw what she was fighting through, and she was doing it like a fucking boss. Several months ago, I advised Melody on my other channel that she's going to have to let go of the things that she once valued about her life, including her last name. I said she's going to have to let go of what she values about her ex, because he's going to use that against her. So the fact that she let go of her last name is a good thing, because Martell would have given her last name, the Holt, to the mistress. So let her let go of it, because he was going to take that and give it to somebody else, right? So if she lets go of it, it won't hurt as bad. It doesn't belong to her anymore. I'm glad she changed her last name to Sherry. She did what, I'm not saying she listened to me, but she did what she was supposed to do. Let go of that energy. Let go of the ties you have to them outside of the kids. Because he's going to use that against you to keep you tethered to him, to try to punish you. Martell looking for a $20,000 ring for Arionne is a way to take a dig at Melody, to say she's more valuable to me than you are. And we all know that's a crock of shit. right? The fact that he didn't even want to pay for the ring, if that's true, proves that he's a crock of shit. Why would you want to get a ring that you can't even afford to prove something to somebody? Get a $500 ring or $1,000 ring or $2,000 ring that you can afford. Why get something you can't afford to prove what, right? Because Arionne would probably accept a $1,000 ring. She would accept anything from him. She's cool with whatever he has to give her. Why would you want to give her something that you can't afford? Because you want to use the ring as a weapon against Melody. Everything that Martell does is to attack Melody for having the audacity to leave him. How dare you leave me? I own you. You belong to me. No matter what I do to you, no matter how many kids I have outside of our relationship, no matter how much I need you to make money for me, right? So I can take care of my mistress. How dare you leave me? You're my property. I never thought you would leave. I never thought you would leave, so I could treat you like a fucking dog. You see? So because he never thought she would leave, his ego is shattered. Men do not like being left, especially traditional old school Southern men and Capricorns. They hate being left. It's an ego thing for them. They would rather leave you than for you to leave them. That's why Martell kept saying, oh, I left her first. I left her first. If you left her first, then you would be cool with this current situation. You wouldn't be torturing her and trying to prolong the divorce like you did. So I peep game. I'm aware of Martell. I'm not impressed with him. I'm not going to be impressed if he gets married to Arionne. I've seen this happen already. Arionne and Martell are not going to get their full karma until they get married. That's how karma operates. You are not going to get your karma until you think you have everything you want. Until you think you're where you want to be. Until you're comfortable and settled and thinking, oh, this is the life. That's when karma's going to hit. And it's around 7 years, 14 years, 21 years when Saturn makes his rounds for karma. So they're in their 7-year mark. Within the next 7 years, Arionne and Martell are going to regret a lot. It's to the point where Martell is still self-destructing. You think that once he marries Arionne, things will just be back to normal. He should have been with her for the past couple of years. But things seem to be getting worse for him. As far as his attitude, his disposition, his temperament, the way that he behaves, he's not at peace. He's not happier. He's more destructive. So you think it's going to get better once he gets married to this person? He didn't just meet her. He's known her for years. And his behavior has gotten worse since he's met her. He's become less responsible. He's more impulsive. He's less composed. He's less disciplined. There's a lot of things that she's bringing out of him that is not good for the foundation of his life. You think that's going to change when they get married? That's not going to happen. Not with two people with personality disorders. Now, if they weren't mentally disturbed, then perhaps it could work out. But both of them have personality disorders. So most of the time, most likely, they're going to destroy each other. Unfortunately. Oh, I forgot to mention in some sad news, Tracy Braxton of the Braxton family has passed away of esophageal cancer. She was 50 years old, and I'm sending my condolences to her family. We've known about her for years. We weren't too familiar with her on the musical side, but I did enjoy watching her on the BFV show. And it was, I hope that she was able to find peace with her family, because she was still upset about the way she was treated after she got pregnant with her child years ago. I'm hoping that her and Tamar were able to piece things up before she passed away. Yeah, so that's sad news. But anyway, thank you guys for listening. I look forward to reading your comments. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.